radically redefines how we interact with our own reality.
It really does.
I mean, imagine having a tool, a mental discipline that's so powerful you could literally go back every single night and review all the disappointments, the little vexations of your day, and then just mentally rewrite them.
And by rewriting them, you're not just making yourself feel better. The idea is you're actually changing future outcomes.
Exactly. Changing relationships, how people treat you. That's what we're getting into today.
I'm ready.
We are doing a deep dive into this remarkable 1954 lecture. It's titled The Pruning Shears of Revision.
And the source is the mystic Neville Goddard. He apparently felt this was the most important, the most crucial concept he ever taught.
He called it magic. He claimed that if you could master this daily process, you'd realize there was, and this is a quote, no objective beyond your ability to realize.
That's a huge claim. And the whole philosophy, it really hinges on a single, very profound idea: radical personal responsibility.
Yeah.
The core insight here is that your mind is the only source. It's the fertile ground.
The garden
of your perceived reality. So what you see out there in the world, the good days, the bad days,
all of it,
it's all just a projection of what you've allowed to grow inside your own mind.
And that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to move past the theory and really focus on the mechanism. You know, how do we actually pick up these pruning shears and start weeding our own reality?
Well, to get the how, we first have to accept the why. The whole context comes from the second chapter of Genesis.
Right. And God placed man in the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it.
Exactly. But the interpretation here is what's fascinating. This isn't some ancient history. It's happening now.
You are the man, and the Garden of Eden is your mind.
It's your own consciousness.
I think most of us feel like we've been kicked out of Eden. You know, not that we're standing right in the middle of it, just surrounded by weeds.
Precisely. And the lecture says that our true purpose isn't really to get famous or make a ton of money, though that might happen.
A side effect, maybe?
Maybe. The primary purpose is simply to tend the garden of God.
Yeah.
Our fundamental job is just to keep that inner space well tended, to make sure only the lovely things grow.
Okay, so if the mind is the garden, the fertile ground, what are the weeds? I mean, what are these things that keep popping up on a Tuesday afternoon?
The weeds are the conditions and circumstances of your life. They are, you could say, the objective evidence.
Evidence of what?
Of what you've been allowing to grow. Usually unconsciously, just through what you believe and consent to is true. Your garden is always projecting itself.
So you don't have to guess what's inside. You just look around.
You just look at your circumstances.
Oh, yeah.
Which leads to that really challenging idea of accountability.
Yeah, this is the tough part. If my frustrating job or my finances are the weeds, who's responsible? Because my first instinct is to point outward.
Of course. It's the boss. It's the economy. But the assertion here is absolute. It says, every man in the world is rooted in you who look out and see that world.
So everyone I interact with is a branch on my tree.
In a way, yes. They're rooted in your consciousness, so they can only bear the kind of fruit that your root allows. Any change you want to see out there has to start in here.
That flips everything on its head. The work isn't outward fixing, it's inward pruning.
Exactly. It's what he calls the law of identity. He uses an old analogy. The sesamum was sesamum. The corn was corn. So is a man's fate born.
You are the source. What you sow inside, you see outside.
And that's the philosophical why, which brings us right back to the mechanism.
Right, the how. How do we turn this big idea into a reliable daily practice? Because the lecture is very clear. This has to be done daily.
It's non-negotiable. If you don't prune it, the weeds will absolutely take over.
The technique is very precise. It's meant to be done at the end of the day, right before you fall asleep.
Yes, because sleep is seen as the gateway to the subconscious, the state of ultimate acceptance.
And there are 4 distinct steps. The first step is review. Before you sleep, you look over the whole day, every conversation, every meeting.
And this is so important. You are told not to judge what you see. You just watch it, like a film playing back.
No regret, no anger.
None of that. That would just reinforce the negative stuff. You're just observing where the day went off script from your ideal.
Okay, so step 2 is rewrite. After you've reviewed it, you rewrite the day in your imagination to match the ideal day you wished you had.
You literally change the script. That awkward conversation becomes a wonderful exchange. That project that failed becomes a huge success.
Scene by scene.
You edit it mentally.
Then step 3 is relive. This is where it gets, I think, a bit harder. You don't just see the revised day. You have to actually relive it.
It demands sensory vividness. You're not just a spectator. You're the actor in your own internal movie. You have to feel the success, feel the pleasant conversation.
You have to make the revised version feel more real than what actually happened.
That's the goal.
And the final step. Step 4 is repeat. You relive this revised day over and over and over.
Until it takes on what he calls the tones of reality. Until it feels natural, complete, like a real memory.
And the guarantee is that these revised days, if you really live them in imagination, will change my tomorrows.
The practical effect is stunning. If someone disappointed you today and you truly revise that scene, the claim is they will not tomorrow.
Why?
Because you've changed their very nature within you. And since you are their root, they have to change.
And the reason this has to be a daily thing is tied to this idea of how time moves. We think yesterday is in the past, gone.
Right, we think it's receding. But he argues the opposite. The day is always advancing into the future to confront you.
Confront you how?
Either in its pruned, ideal state or in that strange, weed-like state you left it in.
So that argument I had on Monday doesn't just disappear. It becomes the seed for Tuesday's problems if I don't prune it.
Exactly. Revision isn't about erasing the past. It's about cleaning the foundation of the future.
This idea of continuous correction, it leads into some of the deeper, more mystical parts of the lecture, specifically the connection between revision and forgiveness.
Yes, the text says that this daily practice of revision is what awakens the spirit of Jesus. And it defines that spirit as continual forgiveness of sin.
So freedom and forgiveness are indissolubly linked.
You can't be free if you're holding on to grudges.
Okay.
But we have to be really clear about what sin means here. It's not about breaking moral codes.
Right, it's the mystic's definition.
To the mystic, sin just means missing the mark. You have an aim, an ideal for yourself or for someone else, and you fail to see it or achieve it. That's the sin.
So if sin is seeing failure, then forgiveness has to be more than just, not seeking revenge.
It's way more active than that. Forgiveness is defined as the identification of the other with the ideal that other wants to embody.
So you look past the current mistake or the current lack.
And you choose to see only the perfect ideal version of that person or that situation. You identify with the ideal.
Which connects directly to this concept of the sacrifice of self. The lecture links revision to putting away sin by sacrificing the self. What is the self we have to sacrifice?
The self is defined as the sum total of all that man believes and consents to as true. So to put away the sin, the missed mark, you have to sacrifice the belief that holds the unwanted thing in place.
Okay, let's make that concrete. Can you give us an example?
Sure. Let's say you have a belief about a family member who's been unemployed for a long time. Your internal belief that he is struggling is part of yourself.
I see. That belief is the sin, the missed mark that I'm consenting to.
Exactly. So to sacrifice that self, you use the pruning shears, you bring them into your mind's eye before sleep, and you don't just wish him well.
You do what?
You congratulate him on his new job. You feel the reality of his success, his happiness. You shake his hand. You feel the joy.
So you are literally sacrificing the old self, the belief in his failure, and replacing it with a new self, the belief in his success.
And the teaching is that when you do that, that branch of your garden is reshaped, and it has to start bearing new fruit in the external world.
That's a profound level of responsibility. Let's talk about some of the real-world examples from the lecture. The story of the teacher is a perfect one.
Oh, yeah. This is a teacher at George Washington High School. She heard the lecture and decided to test it on a student.
A 16-year-old girl who is about to be expelled, described as rude and crude.
This situation was basically hopeless. The faculty had already decided. So the teacher went home that night, brought the girl into her imagination, and she didn't see the rude student.
What did she see?
She saw her as she ought to be, as a tender child, a considerate child, a loving child. She looped this imaginal act until it felt real.
And the result?
The very next day, the teacher acted from this new assumption of love. And crucially, 10 days later, the faculty met again, and they repealed the expulsion verdict unanimously.
She redeemed a branch of her own tree.
Without even realizing the girl was just a reflection of a state of consciousness within her.
This really hammers home that central idea. You don't discard anything, you only prune it and raise it up.
And there's a great historical counterexample to this. The story of Baruch de Spinoza, the philosopher.
Right. 300 years ago, religious leaders wanted to completely destroy him, discard him.
They pronounced this incredibly elaborate, harsh curse on him. They called on angels to curse him, banned anyone from reading his work. They tried to erase him from existence.
And yet, here we are talking about him, His philosophy endures. We still use his phrases like, nature abhors a vacuum.
But the people who cursed him, they're footnotes in history, if that. It proves the point. You cannot discard a branch. Trying to banish something only makes its opposite more real.
Which brings us to the ultimate point of all this. Let's say you, the listener, you start doing this. You get a raise, you succeed in a venture. Is that the end goal?
According to this lecture, absolutely not. Those initial successes are just toys to tickle him.
Just practice. To prove the shears work.
Right. The grand mission that's revealed once you get good at this is not the amassing of wealth, but the redeeming of society.
Losing nothing, but raising everything up.
And the key takeaway, the line that ties it all together, is that you save yourself by, and only by, saving your fellow man. Because, again, every man is rooted in you who observes men.
So, what does this all mean for you, the listener? This deep dive shows us that we are the chief gardener. Every interaction, every vexation, every limiting belief, it must be reviewed and reshaped before sleep.
That's how you enter heaven, which is defined here simply as a loving, knowing communion with a friend. You don't let the sun go down on any vexation.
And if you take this seriously, you start to see the incredible creative power you hold. Goddard actually says your imagination is Christ Jesus.
Not a historical person, but the redemptive power of the world that lives in you. So using your imagination lovingly for another person is literally mediating God to man.
It just changes the entire scale of your life's purpose, from small personal gains to something universal.
It does. And so we want to leave you with a final thought on all this. If every created thing springs from your imagination, if you are constantly creating by what you believe is true,
then what is the one habitual limiting belief you're accepting right now about yourself or about someone else?
that you need to sacrifice and prune tonight?
Think about what the poet Blake meant when he said, "In heaven, the only art of living is forgetting and forgiving." That forgetting is an active process. It's revision.
It's putting a beautiful ideal reality in place of the weed until the weed has nowhere left to grow.
Until the next deep dive, keep pruning your garden.